Live from New Delhi, you're watching Indeed India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar holds talks with his German counterpart Wadephul in New Delhi. Discussion held on trade and multilateral cooperation. Germany reaffirms strong support for India-EU free trade agreement. PM Modi engages with innovators, examines a nanochip as he attends the second day of Semicon India 2025, underlines push for resilient semiconductor ecosystem. Ukrainian President Zelenskyy in Denmark for talks with Baltic and Nordic leaders. Danish PM Frederiksen to host key meeting in Copenhagen. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held talks with visiting German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul in New Delhi. The leaders exchanged views on multilateral cooperation and global issues, including Ukraine conflict, situation in Middle East, West Asia and Indo-Pacific. They also explored greater collaboration in furthering industry linkages, talent mobility, digital semiconductors and critical technologies. Dr. Jaishankar highlighted that the bilateral trade between India and Germany reached nearly 50 billion euros last year. Referring to German Foreign Minister's confidence in doubling the trade, Minister Jaishankar assured that India fully reciprocates that sentiment.
Our two-way trade last year was almost 50 billion euros. Minister Wadephul is on record. I saw one of his interviews where he said that he was very confident we will be doubling our trade. Let me assure him that India fully reciprocates that sentiment. It looks forward to working with the government, with the German government. And I want to reiterate that we remain fully committed to continuously improving the ease of doing business in this country. And I assured the minister today that any concerns that German companies may have in India, coming to India, establishing themselves, working here, we would be prepared to give it special attention.
Dr. Jaishankar also appreciated Germany's strong advocacy for closer India-EU ties and proactive push in concluding the FTA.
Our conversations and our negotiations predate anything which has happened this year. It's something which has been going on for multiple years. And it's in our mutual interest that we lower tariffs and we find other ways of expanding our business and economic cooperation. Obviously, in today's climate, those efforts acquire a greater urgency. That's quite apparent. But it is an ongoing conversation, and I share the minister's desire, and in a way, I would even say optimism, that we would like now the FTA negotiations. We hope that another round takes place fairly soon. We would like this to move to a decisive conclusion in the coming days, and we believe that this would be in our mutual interest. It will help stabilize the global economy. It will be a big factor there. It will be a kind of one of the elements of a ballast which today the world economy really needs.
Further, Dr. Jaishankar said India greatly values the understanding that Germany has shown in country's fight against terrorism.
We greatly value the understanding that Germany has shown with regard to India's fight against terrorism. Minister Wadephul has himself been explicit about our right to defend our people against terrorist attacks. Our parliamentary delegation that visited Germany in June after Operation Sindhu was also warmly received.
Well, German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul said that his country strongly supports India's free trade agreement with the European Union. He also expressed hope that talks will conclude before the end of this year.
Germany strongly supports the EU-India free trade agreement, and we hope that this can be speedily negotiated so that it can be concluded before the end of this year, in autumn this year, and hopefully lead to a ratification process.
Earlier, India's Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal co-chaired a meeting with the business delegations from India and Germany, along with Germany's Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul. The leaders discussed strengthening trade, facilitation, regulatory frameworks and market access, and also explored avenues of collaboration in defence, space, innovation and automobiles, underscoring the vast potential of our partnership. Shifting focus now, Singapore's Prime Minister Lawrence Wong is in India on a 3-day official visit. This is Prime Minister Wong's first visit to India in his capacity as Singapore's Prime Minister. Earlier today, the visiting dignitary paid tributes to Mahatma Gandhi by laying a wreath at Rajghat. The Singapore Prime Minister will hold talks with Prime Minister Modi on Thursday. The two leaders will review the robust and multifaceted cooperation between India and Singapore and set the path for future collaboration. They will also engage on regional and international issues. The Singapore leader will also call on President Draupadi Murmu during the course of the visit. Singapore is an important partner for India, including the Act East policy, and bilateral ties between the two nations were elevated to a comprehensive strategic partnership during Prime Minister Modi's visit to Singapore in September 2024. As India and Singapore celebrate 60th anniversary of diplomatic relations, Prime Minister Wong's visit is aimed at further strengthening comprehensive strategic partnership between the two nations. Indian Finance and Corporate Affairs Minister Nirmala Sitharaman met Singapore Prime Minister Lawrence Wong in New Delhi on Tuesday. India's Finance Minister Sitharaman welcomed Singapore PM on his first official visit to India as the Prime Minister. In a post on X on Tuesday, the Ministry of Finance stated that the discussion centered on enhancing cooperation in critical areas including trade and investment, fintech, skill development, sustainability, healthcare and connectivity. Both sides also expressed a firm commitment to deepen collaboration, marking a pivotal moment as India and Singapore celebrate 60 years of diplomatic relations. The Singaporean Prime Minister also took to social media platform X and highlighted the meeting with the Union Finance Minister. He also stated that discussions took place on the outcomes of the recently concluded third round of India-Singapore Ministerial Roundtable held last month. Moving further, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy arrived in Denmark on Wednesday to participate in a meeting with Nordic and Baltic leaders. Denmark's Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen will host the meeting in Copenhagen. Zelenskyy is expected to press for stronger pressure on Moscow after Russian forces launched a sweeping air attack on Ukraine overnight, damaging energy and transport infrastructure. He is also planning to have bilateral meetings in France later on Wednesday.
And now we see another build-up of Russian forces in certain sectors of the front. Only he refuses in any way to be forced into peace. Russia continues to launch strikes. Of course, we will respond to this. Respond asymmetrically, in particular so that Russia clearly feels the consequences of its brazenness. And we continue to work with partners to increase pressure on Russia, and this will happen. Russia hears nothing but force and will continue lying until its losses are strong enough.
Our NATO chief Mark Rutte said on Wednesday that he expected talks between European leaders in Paris to firm up plans on security guarantees for Ukraine. French President Emmanuel Macron and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer will co-host Thursday's virtual meeting of leaders of mainly European allies who have been working on security guarantees for Ukraine. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy will attend the talks in Paris. European leaders have made clear such a force will be feasible only with US support. US President Trump promised this last month, but Washington has yet to spell out what it is willing to contribute. An international monetary fund mission has begun work in Ukraine as Kiev scrambles to plug a widening wartime budget gap for next year. With military spending soaring as the conflict grinds on, the financing shortfall is only deepening. Ukraine already has a 4-year, $15.5 billion lending program with the IMF, under which it has received more than $10 million so far. The United States, in its fight against drug cartels, carried out military strikes off Venezuela coast on Tuesday. U.S. President Trump, in a press meet, has confirmed that U.S. forces had attacked a boat carrying drugs to the United States. He further said the U.S. military killed 11 people in the strike on a vessel allegedly carrying drugs in the southern Caribbean. Trump also posted a video online of an open-topped speedboat carrying a number of people traveling on a body of water before it exploded in a ball of flames.
We just, over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time. And we just, these came out of Venezuela and coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela, so we took it out.
A federal appeals court ruled that U.S. President Donald Trump unlawfully invoked the Alien Enemies Act to deport Venezuelans he alleged were part of a criminal gang. In a 2-1 decision, a 3-judge panel of the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals issued a preliminary injunction that blocked the Trump administration from removing a group of Venezuelans under the seldom-used 18th century law. The act gives the government expansive powers to detain and deport citizens of hostile foreign nations, but only in times of war or during an invasion or predatory incursion. Now, EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen's flight en route to Bulgaria was targeted with navigation interference, which the EU says was possibly deliberately done by Russia. According to the EU Commission, the airplane was unable to use electronic navigational aids while approaching the airport at Plovdiv. The European Commission said Bulgaria suspected interference by Russia. In a statement, Bulgaria's government said that as GPS signal was lost, air traffic controllers were switched to ground-based navigation systems to ensure a safe landing. Responding to this, NATO said that the bloc is taking jamming of GPS signals very seriously and is working day and night to counter this. And for more on this, let's cross to Thomas Sparrow, correspondent with our partners DW. Good to have you, Thomas. What more can you tell us about this interference?
And good to be on the program to discuss something that is turning into a big political discussion here in Europe, as you mentioned. All this happened as Ursula von der Leyen was on a trip of some of the Eastern European Union countries, specifically in Bulgaria. And we're hearing both from Bulgarian authorities and European Union authorities that they understand that Russia is behind this interference, or at least that Russia could be behind this interference. Now, Russia has denied this, citing reports stressing that they are incorrect. But this is obviously increasing tensions between Russia and the European Union at a time when actually there was hope, or at least intentions, for steps towards ending the war in Ukraine. And what we're hearing now from experts is that they see this as part of what they're describing as a hybrid war coming from Russia, which not only includes these jammings of GPS systems, but also destroying underwater cables or cyber attacks. So that's why, and you mentioned that as well in your introduction, that's why we're hearing from NATO, for example, that they're taking steps to counter this. Again, Russia denies this, but it is certainly not a step, certainly not a development that will bring Russia and the West closer when it comes to finding a solution to the war in Ukraine.
Thomas, meanwhile, there seems to be controversy in Europe over plans to send troops to Ukraine as security guarantees. Can you give us more details on that?
Security guarantees, that's basically the key word when it comes to what actually Europe and the US can do as a post-war scenario in Ukraine, how they can help Ukraine prevent any further invasion, security guarantees that are still being discussed, that will be discussed also, by the way, on Thursday on further high-level meetings. And the controversy specifically here is because Ursula von der Leyen, the head of the European Commission, was cited by saying that there were very concrete plans to then send troops from different European countries to Ukraine as part of those post-war security guarantees. And the German defense minister said that he didn't believe it was the right way forward to actually talk about those things in public when Russia and Ukraine have not sat at the same table to discuss their different views on the topic. This is in line with Germany's long-standing policy that a precondition for anything else is that both Ukraine and Russia sit at the table, that they then discuss a ceasefire, and that then everything else is discussed, at least publicly, including those important security guarantees.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs on that story, Thomas Sparrow. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Gold prices hit record high in Nepal following global surge. And the Sugaru Railway in northern Japan launches its seasonal bell cricket train to mark the arrival of autumn.
This week on Defence Dynamics, India's tank force takes on the drone challenge. How counter unmanned aerial systems are rewriting armoured warfare. A major milestone in Indian air power, why the induction of Tejas Mark II matters. And on the robotics front, what is Bhairav's robotics Rakshak and why it could redefine battlefield autonomy. This Wednesday at 8 p.m. only on DD India.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. President Draupadi Murmu attended the 10th convocation of the Central University of Tamil Nadu in Thiruvarur on Wednesday. A total of 1,010 students graduated this year, including 568 women and 442 men. Among them, 771 received their degrees in person across various programs. The President awarded gold medals to 45 top-ranking students and degrees to 44 PhD holders. Praising the university's role in rural education, she encouraged stronger industry collaboration to harness science and technology for the greater good.
Education must be oriented towards the benefit of the society. In this context, I will also urge you to collaborate with the industry to make use of science and technology for the larger good of humanity, particularly enriching nature and ecology. This university has been making praiseworthy efforts to widen the net of extension education in rural areas of Tamil Nadu. This is a very good initiative.
Prime Minister Modi attended the second day of Semicon India 2025 conference in New Delhi today. The Prime Minister visited the Semicon exhibition, witnessing firsthand the process of chip manufacturing, nanochip production and advanced assembling taking shape in India. He also explored the innovations of global leaders including Micron, Delta, Keynes and Lam Research, with industry efforts sharply focused on next-generation chips for defence, aerospace and electric vehicles. The 4th edition of Semicon India was inaugurated by Prime Minister Modi on Tuesday. With over 350 companies from 33 countries, this 4th edition of Semicon India has become the largest ever, drawing a record number of global stakeholders. Interacting with DD India, Ho Chi Hin, the Executive Director, Global Markets Singapore, says India has gone through a massive transformation in semiconductor sector and that change is becoming more and more visible to the rest of the world, making India a fertile ground for a massive semiconductor revolution. Take a listen.
Exactly a year back, Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Singapore, and one of the most important reasons for his visit to Singapore, or perhaps one of the most important agenda, was semiconductor. And today we are here at Yashobhumi at Semicon 2025, where several semiconductor industry leaders have gathered here in Delhi. We have here the Singapore stall, sir. Thank you so much for speaking with us. Hello. Singapore has made its name as far as semiconductor market is concerned. It is rivaling some of the best countries. What do you think has been the reason behind this gigantic growth of semiconductor industry in Singapore?
Semiconductor industry in Singapore, I think since PM Modi visited last year, he has invited Singapore to participate actively in the semicon industry in India, and Singapore has responded on that. We can see the opportunities with the investments that the government of India is putting in. So this year at the Singapore Pavilion here, it's actually the largest country pavilion at Semicon India.
What do you see in India? What is the potential in India, and what are the reasons why the world is now being drawn towards India?
First of all, I would say India has one of the strongest GDP growth rate of any country in the world. And it is one of the largest countries in the world, and these are all common facts. And therefore, it has very high potential to support the next bound of technology development, for which semiconductors industry is actually the fundamental ingredient. So I think everybody can see that, and Singapore can see that as well. Between Singapore and India, there's always been a very strong collaboration. In fact, the two countries announced that we have upgraded our relationship. We are upgrading our relationship to a comprehensive strategic partnership. So as part of that, semiconductor sector collaboration is really one of them.
You being part of the semiconductor industry in Singapore, do you think that the perspective about India has changed in the last 10 to 15 years about India being a viable place of investment for the industry?
I think I see that the change has come in the last few years. I think since India announced its ambitions a few years ago, I think 3 to 4 years ago, and in particular, I think in the last 2 years, many Singapore companies have actually invested in India.
The future seems bright, and there is a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of impetus that is coming in from the government of India itself, that the world should come to India, manufactured not just for India, but for the rest of the world. With camera person Anand Kashyap, I'm Akshay Dongre, DD India.
And Keynes Tech, which is setting up a flagship OSAT facility in Sanand, Gujarat, with an investment of over 3,300 crore, was approved by the government in September 2024. DD India's Tapas Bhattacharya spoke exclusively to Raghu Panikkar, CEO of Keynes Group, and he said commercial chip production at the Keynes plant will begin later this year.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi was visiting the exhibition hall of the Semicon 2025, and he came here at the Keynes Semicon Pavilion, and he had a chat with the CEO Raghu Panikkar. Sir, you showed him all these technology demonstrator. What it was like, and what was he telling you? You had a very long discussion with him.
Yes, what we told him is that before he visited us in Keynes Group, he looked at all the foreign companies, and we were the first Indian company which is valued at $5 billion, and we are the only Indian company who is truly ODM, and we are furthering our ESDM story by being an EMS, bareboard PCB, and an OSAT, which means there is no other company in India to this scale and magnitude doing end-to-end solution.
Do you believe that India's semicon story is here to stay, and with the Prime Minister's push now, it is now getting wings, and we will see more such semicon clusters coming up in the near future?
What we told him is that our project was approved last September 2024. In a record 6 months' time, we put our first facility up, and in a record next month, by first week of October, we will give the production of the products to our customer, Alpha Omega Semiconductor. I did show him the products that are demonstrated here. There are products like the multi-chip module, which go into the fan controller, which go into the air conditioner, which go into multiple such segments. We also showed him some of the products that we are localizing in India. which goes to one of the biggest two-wheeler EV market. We also showed all our products in the Alpha Omega segment. We also showed him the EMSs and the various boards that we are doing for Indian government, aerospace defense, CDAC as I told, and also the AR/VR glasses. He was quite impressed with the story that Keynes is doing for the last 38 years.
The story of Keynes is also the story of India's semiconductor industry, and in due course of time, we will have more such stories coming out. We'll be putting it out. We'll be showing all that to you in due course of time. With camera person Yogesh, this is Tapush Bhattacharya for DD India from Semicon India 2025 from Yashobhumi, Delhi.
And ahead of the festive season of Dashan and Tihar, the gold price is increasing with the added burden of 2% luxury tax on gold jewellery in Nepal. In terms of INR and standard gold pricing, the gold in Nepal is over INR 1,09,000 per 10 gram, whereas in India, the gold rate is over INR 1,05,000. With the higher official rates of gold set by the Federation, the price of gold jewellery varies depending on the individual jewellery shop, as they often add a markup for craftsmanship and other miscellaneous costs like gold loss in jewellery making. And Spiel Warenmesse, the world's biggest toy trade fair, returns in 2026 in Nuremberg, Germany. Spiel Warenmesse 2026 will be a hotspot for the whole toy community. Based on the last edition's participants, the 2026 toy fair is assumed to be attended by almost 2,354 exhibitors and 57,000 visitors from different countries. Showcasing global innovation, the fair will feature over 50 Indian toy manufacturers. Executive board members of Spiel Warenmesse, Christian Ulrich, says India's toy sector is rising fast, powered by supportive government policies.
India is extremely attractive as a toy market. It's a huge market, especially because the young population is very, very high. If I compare it to other established markets in Europe or in the USA. And then, of course, the Indian market is supported by the government. It's one of the focus markets, which, of course, helps the industry very much. And this is why I think the interest in the world for the Indian market is growing.
And in Aomori, northern Japan, the Sugaru Railway has launched its seasonal bell cricket train to mark the arrival of autumn. The train carries cages of crickets to showcase children and passengers. The service running until 15th October. The train also offers views of golden rice paddies and autumn foliage. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India Live. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile application. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.